The incident I'm going to reflect on today was a call with a lady who had been working for her employer for 22 years, and after the business came under new management, she experienced racism and bullying for a period of 2 years. At the time, I found the call challenging. The caller described the events in a jumbled manner, and I found it difficult to take control of the call. After I'd given the caller legal information and been on the phone with her for about 45 minutes, she informed me that she did not want to take any legal action and didn't even need the legal information. At the time, I felt frustrated and I wondered why she had called our services. After reading Foley and Tang's article and challenging myself to reflect on the way my legal education has taught me to think, I critically considered this call and why I had felt frustrated. Foley and Tang made me realize that I was thinking like a lawyer and not engaging and fully communicating with the caller. As a law student, I had pre-prepared questions and held knowledge of the substantive law and had the assumption that the caller only wanted legal information. For example, the caller recounted an incident of racism where she was told off for speaking Arabic in the staff room. I asked the caller if encounters such as these occurred often. The caller said yes. I knew that the legal test of bullying and perhaps racism had been met, so I quickly moved on to the next question. Here I failed to engage with the caller. I needed to be more empathetic and more keenly aware of the goals and objectives of the caller. I agree with Cunningham that as a law student, I have been trained in legal thinking. I considered limited facts and what areas of the law applied to the caller. This meant that with this caller, I assumed she needed information based on her legal facts. Thus, I applied a very blinkered way of thinking. I learnt from this article that solely providing legal information causes clients to be dissatisfied. Foley and Tang assert that thinking like a lawyer can be described like a puzzle, with a piece missing that symbolises the importance of uncertainty, lack of knowledge, and a questioning perspective. I agree with Foley and Tang that as a law student, I need to develop a questioning perspective and embrace my lack of knowledge. In relation to my caller, I needed to acknowledge that I do not know her lived experiences, and I needed to try to be sympathetic and put myself in her shoes. I needed to ask more appropriate questions and more open-ended questions, which would have allowed the caller to tell me earlier during the call why she was not seeking legal action and what she was hoping to achieve and learn from our conversation. With my caller, where I went wrong was I kept concentrating on putting the legal information into a concise legal puzzle to repeat to my supervisor. However, the legal puzzle leaves out large segments of the caller's puzzle, which includes their personal background and history. Affirming Foley and Tang's statement that the worldviews generated by learning to think legally creates the expectancy that problems are soluble by the mere application of legal reasoning and that humans' needs and complexities can be filtered out. During the call, I pictured my caller as a fact scenario in need of a legal outcome. However, another way to see the incident is to consider a person as a puzzle, who will not necessarily fit neatly into the legal puzzle on the previous slide. As we see on the previous slide, this legal puzzle often leaves important narratives out. If, as Foley and Tang suggest, I develop a questioning perspective, embrace what I don't know, and find out more about the background of the caller through looking at their personal puzzle, I will instead not be concentrating on only drawing out legal issues, and I'll be providing a better service through creating a more meaningful connection with the callers. One of the surveyor's response in Cunningham's article demonstrates that callers want what their lawyer to know the whole picture, or from this perspective, the whole puzzle. The response from one of the surveyors stated, "My solicitor listens for part of what I have to say and then interrupts. She hasn't really got the picture. She only got half the picture. I think it's partly because she's so busy and also because she's simply not used to giving clients a voice." If I had adapted the approach of knowing the whole puzzle and listening to the whole story, I would have heard from my client that she did not want to pursue legal action. This supports the BTI survey that found that what clients want is someone who is responsive, listens, and puts themselves in their shoes. This flowchart illustrates how scholars and my supervisors would explain this incident. You may wish to pause and read the slide here. Interestingly, each scholar would explain this event from a different lens, as would my supervisor. However, I believe all three parties would agree that law schools ill prepare a student for client communication. In applying this knowledge to my future interactions with callers and clients, I aim to apply the initiatives the scholars suggest, including improving communication skills through watching mentors and learning to explain concepts in everyday language. I have found that discussions with supervisors shed new consideration on how to communicate with the caller. I'm enrolled in the Unit Family Law Assistant program where I continue to practice communication with client skills and will learn these skills through reflection. I've been keeping a diary of each day at my internship to reflect on my experience, and I'm always asking my supervisors for feedback to make sure I continue to improve.